I never thought I'd be working in beauty, to be honest. So my journey in summary, very much a roller coaster, very unplanned.
Welcome to Confessions of a Social Media Manager with me, Erin from Agora Pulse. Today I have with me Neesha Sharma. Neesha is the editorial manager for Trinny London. Trinny London is a digital-first beauty brand founded by Trinny Woodall in 2017. And they do pretty much everything you could think of, from SPF to concealer to lip balms. Their stacks are a literal revelation for anybody like me whose flight or fight, syndrome kicks in when they look at an eyeshadow palette. The brand aims to give every individual the confidence to be their best. As part of her role, Neesha manages their organic social channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and their blog. Neesha joined Trinny London in 2019 as their social media assistant, back when the brand was firmly a startup. She then since progressed as their editorial coordinator and then as their editorial manager in April 2021. Managing a team of 2, she oversees everything from video assets to product launches. Her previous roles as a content coordinator for Kids Dania London put her in good stead for her current job, where she created, developed and executed the Global Entertainment Centre's social media strategy. It is clear that Neesha is a woman who knows her content. When asked to describe her social media career so far, she said it was unpredictable, rewarding and fast-paced. Welcome, Neesha!
Thank you so much. What an intro.
I know, I try to make my guests feel super duper welcome and then I know everything about them because, well, I do. Could you go into, just a bit more, because I touched on it a little bit, your role at Trinny London and the title of an editorial manager who also does
Yeah,
social.
so editorial kind of encompasses a lot of things for us at Trinny London. So it's not just social channels, but also kind of overseeing our community, which are predominantly at the minute Facebook groups as well. So my role and my team that I work with, we look after Trinny London and Trinny Woodall's Instagram, Facebook pages, YouTube, LinkedIn, so on and so forth.
I'm really excited to talk to you today because I really struggle to think of an industry, I'm sure other people will argue with me, that has been so impacted by the birth of social media. The makeup industry has transformed in the past decade. I think it's fair to say that it's been meteocratized, if that's the best way to say it. It's gone out of the hands of fashion editors and, large organizations into the hands of just everybody. Like anyone can share their makeup tips now. People become self-taught in ways that wasn't possible, 10 years ago. The influence of influencers is so big on your industry. So I'm so excited to hear about how you've been reaching around in this space to promote a brand new beauty brand, because Trinny London is very, very quite new. I sort of forget because I hear about it so much, but it is a very new brand in terms of some of the other ones that have been around recently. So I'm very excited to hear about your role and what the industry is doing at the moment. Could I ask though, if someone asked you for advice about working in social media, what would be the first thing you'd say to them?
I think nowadays, especially when I've been interviewing as well, like to grow our teams, I think it's slightly different to maybe when you or me started out, where social media, it wasn't that new, but a lot happened in a couple of years. So I feel like when I was applying, it was very much like you could have an interest, know about the channels and, you apply, you get experience on the job. I feel now there are so many different avenues that fall within social media. So whether it's copywriting or the platforms or data, communities, creating content, there's so much that you can do within that space. So I say, find your niche and what you're really, really interested in and go and build your skill set, expose yourself to as much as you can within that, just to really stand out from the crowd as well. And I think that's something that I've been thinking about when I've been doing recruitment. Just thinking outside the box and standing out, because I feel like standing out is a lot harder than maybe it used to be before.
Exactly. Maybe some of the ways that people kind of go about their careers, and especially in the UK and Ireland, is that you kind of do hop from in-house to agency to try and figure out that avenue of social media that you really like, and then you do end up sort of settling, usually sort of in-house or for an organization to carry that on. So I think that's brilliant advice that, whilst you're doing that shopping and changing, do really think about, I really like this industry and I really can apply all the social media knowledge to that industry. Because social media managers, when they work in different industries, they have to know exactly everything about that, but also their social media knowledge. It's like almost sort of two jobs in one. So think about what you're going to be happy with that when you're doing it, I guess is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's that thing of kind of, going with the times as well, not being stuck in one kind of way of working. Like you said, jumping from different industry to industry, it can be so different, and the way that you're using the channels can be so different depending on where you're working. So you as an individual staying really interested and staying really on top of that and how it's all evolving is absolutely an advantage.
So what is a typical day like for you at Trinny London?
Day, so no day is really the same. It's always kind of unpredictable, very like reactive to what's happening, but so I have a team of two lovely girls that work with me in the editorial team. So first thing, we're still kind of predominantly working from home, but check in with the guys on Slack. Obviously couldn't live without Slack, so start the day going through all your Slacks, check in with them, take a look at what we're posting. So we have this mammoth spreadsheet called the Daily Editorial Calendar, which has all of our content kind of planned 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in advance. But with planning in advance, you're always reshuffling, things are always changing. So always in the morning, first thing you do is check in what we're publishing for the day, make sure the guys are all happy with that, doing a reshuffling if I need to. And then my role, so the editorial team at Trinny London is responsible for planning all of the content and putting it into the calendars, looking at how it's performing as well over time. But in terms of actually content creation, we work with our in-house video production team and our in-house design team, who then they will go ahead and take all of those briefs we give them and produce all of that content. So then for me, that means I'm really involved in all of that content creation and doing all the rounds of feedback. So we use Asana at the moment for all of our content. So a lot of my day will be spent on Asana, kind of doing feedback and watching the content go through the processes. And also just signing off those assets as and when they're ready. Lots of exciting launches happening all of the time, so planning for those, lots of meetings across the business. A lot of our marketing team, we're split into loads of different little sections, so you'll have like the community team, the copywriting team, product marketing, internationalization. There's so many, so it's a lot of communication across all of those micro teams and marketing as well. Throughout the day, but yeah, a lot of Slacks, lots of emails and lots of juggling content basically.
Now, you started like when the brand was very much in its infancy as a social media assistant. Were you the only social media expert at that point?
So when we started, it was kind of a bit of a free-for-all, not in that kind of way, but in a way that was very scrappy, and everyone was kind of working on everything, and the team wasn't super structured in the way that maybe it is now, and we were just getting stuff done. So I think when I joined this company it was like 15 or 20 people, and now we're nearing 200 people, so massive growth. But at the beginning when I joined, it was very much like everyone was creating content, everybody was writing copy, everybody was publishing content, whereas now it's slightly more broken up and spread out into little spread out into like different areas, whereas before all of that was just kind of managed by everyone. Everyone was filming, everyone was with Trinny, everyone was editing videos, but I don't do any of that anymore, so I passed that on, so that's good.
You mentioned that you were working on like exciting things. Is there anything exciting you're working on at the moment that you can tell us?
So we have a lot of product launches all the time, so I can't really tell you about that, but I think that's kind of beauty of my role, is that although something exciting might be happening now, I'm kind of planning for the end of the year, beginning of next year, so that's exciting. At the moment we are working with Breast Cancer Now charity to to shine light on breast cancer awareness, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's quite an important piece of work we're doing at the moment as part of like an ongoing partnership we've had with them over the last couple of years, just to really support those people affected by breast cancer or other cancers. I think that's quite a beautiful piece that we're working on at the minute, in that we've adapted kind of like our online appointments. All of our makeup artists have been trained by specialist trainers from Breast Cancer Now, so that we can really provide really tailored advice to women going through or having gone through breast cancer. So that's something really, really nice that we're doing at the moment.
That sounds brilliant. And as a partnership with a makeup brand, that's not something I've really heard of before, that kind of partnering up with charities like that. Just an additional question on that, because I'm really interested. How did that partnership come about? Was it very much you reached out to them, and like what's it been like to organize and strategize on social media content with a partnership like that?
So we have massive communities on Facebook, which are called Trinny Tribes. So we've got a global Trinny Tribe, which is almost at 30,000 members, and then I think almost 35 regional tribes kind of around the world. And these kind of just evolved organically. You know, they weren't created by us; they were created by fans of Trinny and customers who loved the brand, who wanted to go and have a space, continue that conversation. So lots of like-minded people in those groups. And then March last year, we had somebody called Sharon post on the Global Trinny Tribe and kind of really share her story about her journey with breast cancer, and how the Trinny Tribe and that community of women had really helped her through some really tough times. We then, saw that story, and we reached out to her, sent her a little care package, and then she sent us this lovely letter, which, she wrote it to the team, and it really touched us. She writes so well. She's almost like a poet. The way that she wrote it was so eloquent, so moving. So we received this letter, pages long, and we all shared it in the company, and kind of all agreed that we needed to do something more with Sharon. So we reached out with Sharon, chatted to her about charities that she, works with and that are helping her, and Breast Cancer Now was one of them. Anyway, so in the end, we launched a product called Sharon, named after her, and then partnered with Breast Cancer Now for the launch of that as well. So to this day, from when it launched in International Women's Month last year, proceeds from the sales of that product still go towards a charity. So it was already a partnership that was existing, and now we're kind of working with them again for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I was not expecting that. That is just one woman sort of reaching out and impacting you guys has just turned into this whole campaign, and got a product named after her, and it's just, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice because it was, her chosen charity. It wasn't we were assigning a charity to it. It was, a charity that she works with and had received support from. So lovely for us to be continuing that and, showing it to a bigger audience as well.
When you think about it on a content side, it's like that is probably the best type of user-generated content that anyone could ask for, just to show that your product has been impacting somebody in that way, and being able to turn that into something even much bigger, I think is really special, really brilliant. So you are, the ROIs for you is very much, your goal really is to sell these products. That is Trinny London's goal. Social media supports that. But what is success to you as the editorial manager when it comes to social?
I think it really depends on what your objectives are, kind of what works for you, what works for your audience. So we're kind of lucky because we've obviously got Trinny, well-known name, so we look after content for Trinny Woodall channels, but also Trinny London, and that means that we have such a range of content streams happening at once. So in terms of measuring success, like you said, it's not always about selling products, but it's also about showcasing both Trinny's personality, but also the personality and the values of Trinny London, like you said before, about encouraging, or creating a community that helps women to feel their best. So as much as it, could be look at the data, look at the reach of the content, I think it's just much more about creating those memorable moments for the community. For me anyway, that's where I see the most value. I think it's really hard to measure when we have such a variety of content. It could be Trinny doing a shop up in Zara, it could be we're doing some gorilla makeover on the street, it could be a beautiful story like Sharon's. There's so much in the mix that it's really hard to measure success, but I think it's just about obviously exposure, but also more importantly, people understanding what Trinny London is about and seeing them want to be a part of that community as well.
Community has definitely been so much more on the forefront of social media managers' minds, especially in the past few years. When it came to Trinny London starting out the brand, how quickly did you know that this community, the Trinny Tribes, are something that you wanted to do? Was it from the outset, or were you sort of in the process of like, wait, we need a community here?
The Trinny Tribe kind of formed themselves, so we didn't have anything to do with it. And then eventually we kind of worked a bit more with them, and as they grew throughout the world, we then, we have these ambassadors who help run and organise each of the Trinny Tribes. So they work really closely with us, but they are just genuinely women who love the brand and what we're doing and the message, and they really embody that. So yes, it's really important, and it's really important that we nurture those communities, but they are genuinely genuine communities. We don't have, loads of control over them and how they're growing. And I think, but we always tap into the community. We always ask for their feedback. They'll be on our photo shoots. We'll use real models from, real women that we're casting from in the groups. But Trinny will do lots of live content with them. They are really, really important. It's the best form of UGC, like you said, and word of mouth is obviously the best as well. So great just to see them loving what we're doing.
What would be your top tip to grow a community then online?
I think it's about listening to them. So not just within our Trinny Tribe Facebook groups, but within all the rest of our content, we really do endeavour to reply to all of the comments, even as we're growing to huge followings, and Trinny herself as well will reply to comments on every single one of her videos. She really prides herself on that. So I think listening to the community and taking on board their feedback for sure.
And what is the one thing you want people to avoid when they're trying to grow a community?
I think it can be, I think you just have to go with the flow of it as well. And as well as listening to them, allowing it to evolve the way it needs to evolve as well. It can be, you might have huge targets to get community up to a certain number of members, or you want certain results, but I think that is people who are genuinely invested in your business and what you're doing already, so kind of give it a bit of freedom to develop naturally.
Agreed. I think with community, what people don't always understand is that so much planning comes, unless it's already your target audience has already kind of started doing it themselves. The planning to get a community together is way bigger to the launch date of like creating a community space. And eventually you want a community to be self-sustaining, whether it's like, sort of like being in the space and understand, like making those connections and giving you the content that you need. The goal really, I always think, for communities is to make them self-sustaining and realize you're going to have to step back from this and let them do what they want. But it's really interesting that, the community was sort of forming and you sort of tapped into it at what seems like the right time.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And when we do a pop-up, so we did kind of before the pandemic, we did slightly more pop-ups, but now we're going to be doing a pop-up in Liverpool next week, and just really exciting to then when we go to those spaces. We did a pop-up in Dublin 2 years ago, and when we went there, the Trinny Tribe were there, and they were so excited to see us, and they knew all of us because we also, like, as members of the company, we're also members of the Trinny Tribe community, and engaging with that community, knowing them by name. It's really, really lovely. And you go and meet them in person, and it's the exact same as on Facebook, but just 10 times better.
Now, you are mostly organic, not all organic. A lot of your work is organic, social media. What is it like? What do you think about organic versus paid, and what is your approach to those things within Trinny London?
Within Trinny London, so we have obviously us that look after the organic content, and we also have performance marketing. So whether that's paid on Google or Facebook ads, and then we've got email as well, which is really, really important for us in terms of growth. So we send emails literally every single day. And then Facebook as well, like, is one of the ones we use the most for paid. And up until recently, I think it's been working pretty well. Obviously, lots of changes on Facebook at the minute. But I think the organic is where you get somebody interested. They like the content. they might go and click on the website, but it's much more about just creating an understanding and awareness and maybe trying to get those new customers as well. But then paid is that kind of second hit, which is nice, and that's maybe the one that's more likely to convert them to actually becoming customers. But for me on organic, it's just much more about creating awareness and showcasing the work that we're doing and the values of the brand.
It's really interesting because obviously, you know, you are constantly having to like change up the approach with algorithms coming in, and you know, your paid approach has to sort of keep changing. What is the most successful platform for Trinny London at the moment then? Where are you getting the most engagement?
Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Facebook. So Facebook for paid for sure is massive for us. And then, I mean, again, it depends how you're measuring success, but then Instagram for Trinny is huge. Yeah, it's a bit of a mix, and I think it's really interesting when you see the different audiences on both channels. You know, super different for us on Facebook. I think on Facebook, because we have our Trinny Tribe communities on Facebook, we kind of, it's slightly more customer based, whereas on Instagram, slightly more fans of Trinny's and fans of the brand, and also just people who are interested in makeup, and it's slightly a younger audience, but not necessarily all customers.
That is so interesting, because I honestly thought you were going to say off the bat Instagram, that's it, because Instagram is the moolah domain. Instagram is what it is. It's when I personally think about makeup, I go there to follow. But then what you've said is really rings true, because Trinny herself is the influencer in this, so it makes sense that she really fits that domain to contribute to the wider effort of bringing in a social media presence for the brand. I suppose it's a reminder to all social media managers that each channel has its own function when it comes to supporting your brand, and they have its own unique selling points in which to like contribute to that kind of thing.
And also knowing you know who your target customer is. So our target customer is slightly older, maybe kind of 40 to 50, or older than your typical maybe Instagram user. So Facebook is always going to be super important for us, because that's probably the platform that they're most comfortable or most familiar with using. And like you said, with Instagram, it's always changing. You know, putting reels on there was a real spanner as well. And it is definitely much more for a younger user still. So it'd be interesting to see how they develop that over time. But Trinny's audience are luckily very tech savvy, so it's all cool. But yeah.
2021 is going to be, the world of 2021 is going to be reels.
Reels. So great.
Yes, exactly. So great for all of us. When it comes to, you know, you worked in pretty much a startup. It sounded like it was go from the second you were a team of 15. You're now in a team of basically 100 as a brand. How have you managed the work-life balance in social media when it really does not stop?
I mean, I'm not an expert of this at all. I feel it's quite hard. Obviously, social media is always on. It's a lot of out of hours work as well. Always wanting to stay on top of it. And I think also when you're using social media, because you're genuinely interested in it, so when you're using it in your personal life as well, you're always spotting things and like, oh, that we should be doing that, and you're just like making a mental note for yourself to pick that up on Monday. So yeah, I'm not an expert at all. Like I genuinely am really interested in it, and I like love being on the platforms myself as well. So maybe I need to get better at taking time away from it when I'm not working. But yeah, I think so long as you're still enjoying it, and if you're still spending time on social media in your free time, make sure you're doing it for yourself, and because you're enjoying it. It can be hard to switch off that work brain, especially when you're browsing in your own time. But yeah, maybe just trying to switch off, taking holidays where you can. I don't know if you've got any advice, but I'd love some.
Definitely, from what I've learned, is that if you are at this point not a one-man band, and when you're on annual leave and things like that, the cover should be there within the team. So if you know that you're not going to be there for a week or so, then everyone is very clear on who's doing the community management that day, what's been scheduled, who's got access. Putting those in place definitely feels like you're more on an even keel, even though you're so tempted on your annual leave to check stuff, that you know that things are getting worked on whilst you're away. I think definitely having those processes in a team really help that balance when you try and do get that balance. And blue tinted glasses.
Oh yeah, I need to get some.
I know I need to get some too. I'm really bad with it. I think I've got these really geeky, huge glasses that I just don't want to compromise for the aesthetics. But I'm going to have to because my eyes are starting to hurt. Okay, they're starting to hurt. So that'll be my top advice for people listening, and hopefully more will come out. I asked this question to social media managers and all of them because they all have sort of different answers and all sort of on different levels and journeys about how they want to approach this. So it's always interesting to hear where people are at that point with managing that, because it's a question and that is coming up more and more generally with social media managers when they're trying to manage what really is their mental health in a demanding way. Now, what skills do you think are essential for a good social media manager?
Good question. I think you kind of need to be a bit of a master juggler. Things are always moving, things are always changing. You'll be loving a feature one day on Instagram, next thing you know, it's gone. So just being really good at handling a lot of change, being really adaptable. I think also something I've learned is, although everyone can obviously see your work, it's a lot more public than maybe some other areas, but within that, being able to really take a step back, reflect on what you're doing, and being willing to keep learning as well, because I think because everybody has access to social media, it can be as though everybody's an expert. So remember that you know what you're doing, and be willing to change and adapt, take on board feedback, and keep teaching yourself as well. Especially if you are in a smaller team, that can be hard to make time to do, but I think it's massively beneficial for yourself personally, but also obviously for the business that you're working for.
You've mentioned that social media is very public, and the being a social media manager means you're really exposed to the public. Has there ever been like a big mistake you've made whilst you're doing social that has been like nearly the end of the world and that you've had to try and fix it?
Luckily, I don't feel like I've made any mistakes. Touch wood, but I don't know, I really can think of one. I think that at Trinny London we've had a lot of press-worthy moments with Trinny, but it's always been great. So it's always worked out in the end, and it's always quite funny. But we do a lot of content, so it's always great when it gets picked up in the press, to be honest. But no, I can't think of any mistakes that I've made, to be honest.
How would you summarize your social media journey from where you started to where you are today?
So I never thought I'd be working in beauty, to be honest. So my journey, in summary, very much a roller coaster, very unplanned. I started off just doing a lot of freelance bits, which meant that it was very varied what I was working on, and then landed the job at Kidsonia working with kids, which is amazing, and then came to Trinny London, so two completely different industries, but now I think I'll work at I shouldn't say this, but I think I'll work in beauty for a long time.
This is going to be my more meatier question. I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this. What do you think the future of social media is for your industry? Because it is getting bigger and bigger. I can't see it failing on social media, the makeup industry. I think it's got it by the neck. Where do you think it's going?
I think kind of taking it back to community. So like you said, because there is so much out there, so many options, so many different brands you can buy into, you can follow, you can become a part of. So I think it's all going to be about standing out and what you can give back to that community as well, and something that you can offer that's something, beyond selling products.
The thing about makeup is that you get so many options at you can't tell what is from what. You've got an influencer saying this and you can't tell whether they've been sponsored or not, and it's very hard for you to understand if you can't go physically and go get the stuff, which is very much a thing in the pandemic. I was like, I need a foundation, I need a swatch, I just did not know what to do. And also You know, when people talk about silicone-based or water-based stuff and no one tells you the primer needs to match the foundation. So it's just like all those things are, it would be way easier to have a community there of people who aren't really, you know, weren't really trying to sell something because they're sponsored, but really are real people who use it day to day in settings that you know about, work, commute, whatever, and that you can trust. And I think community is very much the way that you're going to build trust with people. People want to hear from people who've got the same lived experiences as them and are using it the same way as them. There is still an inaccessibility from influencers, I feel. You know, we can't swatch everything. We can't buy, normal women in the UK cannot buy £200 worth of products just to try them. They want something very quickly. They want to know, this is my guess, that, you know, they want to just know what's going to work for them. And I think those communities actually make so much sense. So that was a good answer.
Oh, you really expanded it. It became it's amazing.
That's the end of our, you know, main interview. So we're going to go on to the quick fire questions.
So ready.
Best makeup brand out there.
Trinny London.
Worst makeup brand out there.
Oh, I don't know. Oh my god. No, I can't say that. It was terrible.
I tried to get you there. How relieved were you on a scale of 1 to 10 when Facebook went down?
Very relieved. 10.
Beauty product you would recommend to everyone, no matter what?
Trinny London stack.
We're gonna end it there. That was beautiful product placement. I love that. That can definitely be the last question. You've nailed it. Thank you so much, Neesha, for joining us on Confessions of a Social Media Manager with Agora Pulse. Neesha, where can people find you?
So you can find us at trinnylondon.com, complete your match to me, and find your shades.